Not too long ago, these Congolese fighters were battling the army. Now they call themselves Wazalendo, a Swahili word for patriots. Several armed groups have put aside their differences to help government forces in their goal to defeat what they see as a common enemy. So thousands of fighters have been deployed to boost the number of soldiers on the front lines.
Welcome to Good Morning DRC TV. I will play you a clip a little later, but I just wanted to give you an update on what is happening with the Wazalendo, or the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yesterday, obviously, we did bring to you the information that what was happening in eastern part of the DRC with regards to this war that has ravaged and destroyed many lives in the eastern part of the Congo. Today, just wanted to let you know that there is still heavy fighting that is going on in spite of what everybody is waiting for in terms of what is happening in Doha. What we understand that in Kavumu, the battle that has taken the lives of around 50 people is because the Wazalendo are patriots. This group of people are patriot, and it is because of them that that part of the country is still what it is at the moment. But let me just mention this, that what is happening in Kavumu at the moment is the simple fact that the Rwandan army have reinforced the capacity that they had on the ground. And up to this very moment, as I said, now it is the case that the M23 have gained control back of the airports. And I keep on saying this, and I know some people are making comments to try to tell me that what is happening there is basically that the M23 group are receiving more supplies and they are in command of what is happening. Listen, I'm telling you the information that we have based on what is happening on the ground. The M23 group is not as strong as it was. This is simply because they have no as much supplies as they used to have in the past. This is what is happening at the moment. You mentioned, as you heard one of the members of the M23 group say that they're trying to give this peace or ceasefire that was declared in order to resolve this conflict politically. Now, I do understand that many people who don't have a global view in terms of what is going on there, they wouldn't understand. But listen, as you are watching now, you can see President Tshisekedi, and you can see them along with President Kagame. Now, as far as I know, in the DRC, I was there when Kagame came into the DRC. Nobody wanted to welcome Kagame in the DRC, knowing that the massacres and all the killings that he has basically carried out. But President Tshisekedi took matters in his own hand. He wanted to make things right with Paul Kagame. He wanted to have good neighbors around him, and he wanted to have good relations. He was saying, okay, let's put the past behind us. Let us come together in an agreement of some kind so it can be a win-win situation. They signed different deals, different agreements, so that the refineries for gold, for coltan, and different things would involve both countries so they can both benefit from the proceeds, so that both countries can develop, but it's really shocking to those who know. But I can tell you one thing, that I'll come back to the Wazalendo, I'll come back to it, but I just want to give you a little bit of a background into it so you understand what is actually unfolding now. So President Tshisekedi, out of the goodness of his heart and just wanting to see peace, you see, uh, uh, contrary to what Kagame is a man of war. He's a man of blood. You know, this is his whole life. President Tshisekedi, on the other hand, he's not. Him and his father have led an opposition party for the past 37, in fact, 38 years before gaining power. So what we are actually saying at the moment is the fact that there was a willingness from the DRC, from the president, who wanted Kagame of Rwanda and the DRC to work together so they can develop that region. But we have noticed, and like I said, I was there and I've seen in most of the situations on the ground, it's just a terrible situation to see that Kagame, who was used to getting wealth, who had access to the minerals in the Democratic Republic of Congo because of the deal that they had with the previous president, Joseph Kabila, when President Tshisekedi came into power, he said no, that Kagame should not have that right to come into the DRC and take as much as he can and go and loot the country without accountability. It's not going to happen because you see, as I mentioned in my videos, Kagame and Joseph Kabila were in sync. They're working together. So Joseph Kabila submitted himself to Kagame, and because Kagame is the one who helped him to come into power, so therefore he just basically couldn't stand against him. He couldn't basically tell him no. He had to submit to him. So Kagame had free reign in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So when President Tshisekedi came into power, he said no to it. He said he wouldn't allow Kagame to carry on the way he did business before. And this is what is the whole situation that you are now seeing in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Even though, like I said, President Tshisekedi said to Kagame, let's work together so that we can all benefit. Both of our countries will benefit from the proceeds of this war. To Kagame, it wasn't enough. You can imagine a man who was used to have a cup full, and now you want to give him half of a cup. He said no, he wants to have as much as he used to have, and this is the current problem that we have. Now let's go back to the Wazalendo. So what has transpired is the fact that the Congolese army has been weakened. It is not able to fight because it has been infiltrated throughout the years by Kagame and his men. So how did Kagame do this? So all this time, he has created different militia groups that are basically there to represent his interest or Rwanda's interest in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, I know some people will come up to say that, okay, listen, we are claiming, or our demand is this. They'll talk about, FDLR that are in the eastern part of the Congo. Now that pretext of FDLR is no longer valid. It's because if you think about this, so the FDLR, so when the genocide happened, 1994, so we're talking about what, how many, 30 years ago, but 30 years ago, those who did fight then, how old are they now? So 31 years after, Kagame is still going after the FDLR. So many of them, let's assume if they were 30 or 29 or 25, so they'll be in their 60s now. So you think that these people still have arms and they are causing threats to Rwanda. So that does not really stand. It does not really stand. So what we're seeing is simply that he's trying to use pretext in order for him to do what he wants to do in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And that is a terrible, terrible situation that we are witnessing. So what happens, because the Congo does not have an army that it can rely on, because, as I said, these Congolese army have been infiltrated for the past 20 years. When President Laurent Desire Kabila came with the help of the Rwandan army. This is when they started basically injecting some, because you can all remember at one point, I don't know if you know history, but James Kabarebe was in the Democratic Republic of Congo as the commander-in-chief of Congolese army. This is going back in 1997, 1998. James Kabarebe was the man in charge of the Congolese army. He was back then the one who was mentoring Joseph Kabila, who is his nephew. So what we need to understand here that this goes way back, and Kagame, I have to give him credit. I keep saying Kagame is a smart politician. He's a warrior. He's a man who wants to extend his vision, and I don't blame him for doing what he, as a politician, he wants to do good for his country. But what I blame him is to invade another country and to kill millions of people for you to achieve your dream. That is wrong, and that is devilish. And this is what we're talking about now. So when they invaded the Democratic Republic of Congo, using the pretext of, after that, so ask yourself questions. So they have invaded the Democratic Republic of Congo 4 times already. So during these 4 times, why have they not finished all the FDLR? Because they are well armed, their militaries are trained, they are really up to date with the latest technology and everything. So all these different times that they have invaded the Democratic Republic of Congo, why have they not dealt and finished with the FDLR? Where are the FDLR now? So now that they have invaded Bukavu, Goma, so where are the FDLR? Why are they not basically finishing all the FDLR? They've killed more than 10,000 people, but what's happening with the FDLR? So these are pretexts that they've been putting forward. But you can understand that there was a Wazalendo coming back to them. So, given our army, the Congolese army, the situation at the moment, because this army has been infiltrated, so throughout the 18 years that Joseph Kabila was in power, he didn't train the army. He didn't equip them. He didn't basically want to have a strong army. And this obviously was by the mentorship of Kagame, because they know that if a country like the DRC does not have a strong army, therefore it is vulnerable. It is vulnerable. And this is basically what has been going on all this time. And so Kagame, knowing very well what he was doing. So he basically helped Joseph Kabila in power to be able to do what he did. And this is what I'm saying, that it is a terrible situation. So in the face of an army that cannot go and fight battles, what happened was the patriarch, the people of the eastern part of Congo, that is the Wazalendo that you are seeing right now. These are just patriots who could no longer accept to be submitted to Rwanda. So different militia groups started. This goes back to the Mai Mai. So these are defenders of their own country against any forces that will want to subdue them. And they were, first of all, to begin with, the army, the Wazalendo, were not recognized by the Kinshasa authorities, because they were not part of the regular army. They didn't receive any support, none whatsoever. But yet they stood up. They put up a fight against Rwanda, against any powers that tried to invade them. Over the years, what has emerged is that these Wazalendo, they are the one who have stopped the many times that the different cities in eastern part were about to be captured. Look what happened in Bukavu. And what has just happened in Goma? Did you see the military put up a fight against Rwanda? No. The generals laid down their armaments and their weapons, they took flight. So they didn't even put a fight. So this tells you how much the Congolese army is corrupt. And it's simply corrupt because they've been, throughout the years, they've been what we call mixing and brewing. So that means that all this, like the M23 group right now, what are they asking? So the M23 group, they are asking that they be integrated in that they be recognized by the Congolese government as military personnel. Many of them who are now generals, and they have different positions within their own so-called group, they want to come to be integrated within the regular Congolese army. Then what happens? These M23, if they're ever allowed to join the regular army, they will be the one who will be weakening the army from within. These will be the infiltration again that Rwanda or Kagame wants to inject. So he will be controlling and manipulating what is happening in the eastern part of the DRC. And this has always been the end game. And people need to understand that there was Wazalendo understanding what has happened. Come on, more than 10 million people have lost their lives. This is not a joke. These are people's lives, and therefore the Wazalendo just can't take it anymore. So they said to themselves, if the regular army is not able to do it, we will put up a fight. And this is what they have been doing all along. And then you have the international community who are keep, pounding on them that they have to give up their weapons, they have to surrender, they have to do this and they have to do that. When the international community is all behind this evil plan that Kagame has. You don't think, you just think about this. Does Kagame have the power and all that it takes to invade such a big country without the help of the international? Of course, he would not able to do it. He is only able to do what he's doing because he has the support of the international community and his masters who are behind him, who have basically given him access to do all of this. Amongst them, you have to think about Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, and the international community. So this has been going on for a long time, and it has to come to an end. And this is the reason why at some stage, when President Felix Tshisekedi came into power, he realizes that the army that was there was not loyal to Congo, because you have many of Kagame's military personnel injected in the regular army, and they are the ones who are basically calling the shots, and they are the ones who have weakened the army. They have basically done everything in order to minimize what is happening from within. This is why any plan that the army has, any fights that they want to put up, they're just not able to. They have corrupted the system, and Kagame is the mastermind. He has really done really good in terms of weakening its neighbors. So what we have here, the only hope for the DRC at the moment, aside from the diplomatic front and all that is happening, is that the Wazalendo must be armed, must be helped, must be supported by the DRC government so they can basically have all that they need to stand this fight and be able to win. And I know at the diplomatic fronts, yes, things are going I wouldn't say going the way we want it to go, but at least they are making progress so that the world, which has already seen what has happened recently, and then all the lies that were told over the past 25 years by Kagame is now in the open, and people kind of understand who the man is. More pressure needs to be put on Rwanda. It has to stop what he's doing, and we have to come to the point where we understand that, look, the DRC belongs is a sovereign country, it's a sovereign nation, and we have to give it all the right and bring peace in this region. And this is the reason why I talked about the peace deal with the US. I hear somebody making a comment saying, oh, yeah, you're going to give this white people, you think they care about this, and, what kind of a government is this to give the wealth to the West and to the white people, and then they'll come and destroy you later. Listen, and I made a comment and I said it. Look, I would rather deal with the US than let Kagame do what he's doing by killing millions of people. And like I said, I'm not happy that the US or this deal should go on with the US, but if I had a choice, this is what would happen. Because, as I mentioned, that Kagame has been able to do what he has done, it because of the support he received from the US, from Great Britain, from Canada, from France, so on and so forth. So they were all involved in all this situation. But what I'm saying right now, at the moment, is that the Wazalendo, they are the hope of the nation, and they're supposed to receive the support that they need to build a strong and lasting, if you like, security force in that region. This is very, very important. Right now, as we speak, as I said, there are talks in Doha. So everybody wants to see this talk move forward, but they cannot move forward because of the demands. They want to be integrated within the Congolese army. They want to be recognized as Congolese. They want to have an amnesty. How can you have an amnesty when you've killed all these people? So the M23 group is asking the Congolese good to have an amnesty so they don't go after them for the crimes that they have committed against the people in Goma and Bukavu. That cannot happen. The international community will have to go after them because they are killers, they're murderers, they're terrorists, they've done horrible atrocities they've committed. They must pay for it. So this is one of the reasons why we're not hearing as much in terms of so they're still negotiating. They're asking to be pardoned. They're asking for amnesty. They're asking so that they don't go after them. They're asking to be integrated within the Congolese army. They're doing no, but this cannot happen because there was a law that was passed a couple of years back in Parliament that they will not be mixing and brewing of the rebels and the regular army. That will not happen. I don't know what will unfold, but we're still monitoring this situation. So please understand. I don't care what people are putting down in the comments. What I want you to know is that the Wazalendo are the hope of the Congo. They need support, and the Congolese government needs and must support them, give them what they need, because they are the patriot. They are fighting for our nation. I'll give you more information as it unfolds, but let me just give you a little bit of a playback so you can at least hear the words as they're being described. These are the Wazalendos. And this is very, very important for you to know that these are not just people who are, the world wants to give them, but yes, let's listen to this.
These Congolese fighters were battling the army. Now they call themselves Wazalendo, a Swahili word for patriots. Several armed groups have put aside their differences to help government forces in their goal to defeat what they see as a common enemy. So thousands of fighters have been deployed to boost the number of soldiers on the front lines. Here they sing songs critical of Rwanda's President Paul Kagame, who they accuse of arming M23 rebels. Karen says she's not afraid to die.
I'm a soldier. I've seen my relatives suffering. They are in camps for the displaced. My home is Kumbuba. We had to leave for our farms. That's why I decided to come here.
But some commanders have been accused of committing human rights abuses and are facing sanctions.